Born and dead, saved by love, count my blessing from above.
And we are all blessed, and love will reign forever. I'm Marcus Holmes. I am the love activist. I'm advocating for better love for you and me. And so I hope that whether you're watching us here live on Facebook, from which we are in the page, or if you're joining us on LinkedIn Live or Twitch TV, you're joining us, and we hope that you click share. Tag 5 of your closest friends or subscribers or more popular ones to join in tonight's discussion, because you do not want to miss a second of this powerful story. A woman who has an amazing story of what God has done, how love saves the day. And so you will click share and tag those that are around you, may be walking a journey, may not even know that they're walking wellness, mentally, physically, spiritually. This is a clarion call to you, that you involve as partners in the action. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute too. And so take a moment and click share. Those of you that are joining us, and come right on in. And those that are joining us across various platforms, I am excited to have you here. And I'm just checking across platforms. Thank you so much for joining. Click share and tag topic. But just before we do, I hope that you go to the top of the page. Our across platforms, wherever you are. All right. I'm just checking across platforms to make sure we're either. Thank you for staying this healing journey. And I hope that you will click share. I'm just checking across platforms to make sure everything is going well. It looks like we're frozen on one platform. We will not be deterred. We're going to make sure that this out just fine. Right, I'm going to check across LinkedIn, see if my LinkedIn folks are checking in. Let's see. Fantastic. All right, we're getting a connection issue challenge. Hold on one moment. We're going to make sure that all these things are well. All right. All right. Right. We got some folks joining us, and I hope you will drop in the comments wherever you are so that we can make sure that we get. All right. All right. We can get it going. Okay. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. All right. Let's see. And on Facebook, that should help us some. All right. Checking across in the chat. Okay. I'm okay now. Rita Marie. Rosemary, you know I'm saying Rita Rose. I can't say all those names at once. Click share and tag some folks. This is an important journey and topic, and I am excited to have with me um, a phenomenal woman. And I believe that sometimes God uses the most phenomenal people to display his power, his plan, his purpose, so that others like you and me can be awakened to know that there is something that we need to do. What an amazing love, the quintessential love. God looks to see our paths and journeys and directs us in those paths and journeys to move us for our good. Even when we're not paying attention to what is good, paying attention to our mental wellness, our physical wellness, our spiritual wellness. God makes us bump into people. God makes us come in contact with people who he entrusts to go through sometimes incredulous journeys. And tonight we have one such person. Lisa Whitmore is an amazing human being. And I want you to hear her story and hear from her story in the hopes that even if you're not on a healing journey or not even aware that you need to be on a healing journey, that it will spark your thinking about what you need to do to be the highest expression of yourself in wealth, health is wealth, in spirituality, and in mental wellness. And so I'm going to bring her on right now. I'm just excited to have her here with me. We're having these little small challenges that are happening, but I'm grateful that she is here joining me. See there, it's trying to give me some challenges right now. Thank you, Lisa, so much for joining us.
Thank you for
We're going to get
inviting
there
me.
eventually. We're getting.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
Yes, I am so excited to have you, and I want to be a partner in helping to spread the word about the Whitmore Project. But just before you tell me more about that, for our listeners that may not know you, I want you to take us back to the beginning of your journey. And I know today is a very sentimental and special day for you. And so I want to shout that out. This is Vera Day. This is your Mother's Day. Tell me a little bit about your mother and what we might learn about you through your mother as we get to this section of your journey.
Yes, yes. Again, thank you so much, Marcus, for inviting me, and hello to all of your audiences. Today is my mother's birthday. If she was living, she'd be 92 years old. And she was the consummate church lady, community volunteer, health advocate. She was a registered nurse by trade. And what she and I share in common, when she was 57 years old, she was diagnosed with cancer. And unfortunately, when I was 57 years old, I found out that I also had cancer, a different type of cancer than she had, but cancer is ugly no matter the type. It is it's so prevalent in our community. And one of the things that I hope, there are several things, but one of the things that I hope that people learn from the Whitmore Project is that you have to learn to listen to your body. The Lord made us wonderfully. We're beautifully and wonderfully made, the word says. And he made us where if we're not feeling well or we have pains or unfeeling of unwell, those are red flags. They can even be
Yeah,
green,
I want
pink,
to jump.
flags.
Yeah, I want to jump in there because I think I heard you say, I want to make sure our audience is not lost on our audience. Your mother was 57, you were 57. So I want to go back to that 57 and fly and smart and savvy and doing community work, a stellar professional. Did you come to 57 thinking, uh-oh, or were you just living times? People are just living life, right? So did 57 bring you some trepidation about getting to 57, or did this just knock you off your feet?
it knocked me off my feet because
Mhm.
right after my 57th birthday, the Lord blessed me with a new role, one that I really was excited about. And then about less than 60 days into the role, I didn't
Mhm.
feel well. The night before, I thought I had gas. I
Mhm.
thought I had a bad case of, gas. I had eaten something. I
Mhm.
mentioned it to my daughter. I even went through the virtual medical
Mm.
portals that you can use through Blue Cross. And they said, well, we can't really tell what's going on with you through this virtual portal. You need to go inside. But the next day I had uh, several meetings. And Brother Marcus, I was dressed to the nines, high
Mhm.
heels, and
Mhm.
ready to go into the office. I believe in decorating my temple. The Lord said, we decorate our temple.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take full breaths. So my daughter and one of my dear friends, Dr. Neutrina Tate, she says she sent me, she knew me, she knows me. She sent me a text with locations of urgent cares near where I was at.
Mm.
And I saw one that was closest, and I went to the urgent care. And when I got there, the woman says, ma'am, I don't know what's wrong with you, but we're concerned and we want you to go to the hospital. There's a saying that the Lord takes care of fools and babies, right?
Right.
Well, that day I was a foolish baby because I
Okay.
said, "Well, don't call an ambulance. I'll drive myself," not knowing that I had three pulmonary embolisms in the lower lobe of my lung, and I couldn't take full breaths because I had PEs.
Mhm.
And as we start this journey, and it's important to share because I hope that someone learns something from my homework, from the lessons that I've learned in my life over especially these last couple of years.
Mhm.
Um, that 30 days after my pulmonary embolisms, I had to make a very difficult decision and leave my role that I was at.
Mm.
So at that time, cancer, I just knew I needed to understand, why did I have these pulmonary embolisms? Because I don't drink, I don't smoke, I exercise, I eat clean. I've been eating clean and reading labels since 2018, 2017.
Mhm.
I really try to take good care of myself, other
Mhm.
than just not understanding what was going on. But what I learned is that when you are underinsured and when you are, I'm just gonna, this is a safe space. When
Sure.
you're a Black woman,
Mm.
sometimes health disparities, even no matter your socioeconomic background, health disparities are there.
Wow.
Um, the battles with big insurance are
Mhm.
there, especially when you are underinsured, as I found
Mhm.
myself.
Mhm.
So I was, the Lord sent, I went through a lot of doctors, okay,
Mm.
for almost 4 months.
Mm.
But finally, a doctor who was a dear friend, a sorority sister, but one of my medical professionals that I use, she says, Lisa, I just don't understand how these doctors are saying we'll never know why you had the PE. This is unusual. I'm going to help you. And
Mhm.
so she fought with the insurance companies because they wouldn't let me get the different CAT scans that she was requesting, but they let me get one test, and that
Mm.
was a 3D mammogram.
Mm.
Now, I was up to date on my mammograms. I always went to the same doctor because my same space to get my mammograms, because my mom was an RN and she taught us well. Stay
Mhm.
with your same pharmacist if you can. Stay with your same medical professionals if you can, because you create relationship and also they can track things better.
Mhm.
So I had all my records at Carmanos. And so I wasn't late or anything. My next one wasn't due until March of the next year for around my birthday. So
Mhm.
that they only allowed me to have that one test. And that one test saved my life
Hmm.
because I had a tumor sitting there in my chest on the
Hmm.
same side of my body where the PEs were found.
Hmm.
And the oncologist there at Carmanos, he said to myself and my daughter, he says, you know, your mother's really lucky. And she says, why? He says, because a lot of people, their blood begins to thicken when they are fighting an unknown malignancy or they have cancer. But a lot of times we don't find it out until it's too late. And your mom's cancer is not only we found it early, but it's an angry, his words were, it's an angry cancer at that.
Hmm.
So he says, if we had waited until, and your mom hadn't taken a 3D mammogram in March of that year, her tumor was so small we wouldn't have seen it. He says, because I can't even feel it, and she wouldn't have been able to feel it. He says she wouldn't have been able to feel it until it had gotten larger, and because of the type of cancer that your mother has, we would be having such a difficult conversation right now. And so my daughter said, and I said as well, I'm not
Wow.
lucky. I'm blessed. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. Yeah.
Tremendously blessed. And so go back and
Yeah.
share with our viewers, just you talked about some of the symptoms that you had. Um, Tell our viewers a little bit about those symptoms, because maybe there are symptoms that people just kind of ignore to the extent that they can.
Right. As I believe everyone's cancer journey is unique, but there are some
Mhm.
common things that you should look for. As you know, Marcus, I'm full of energy and I'm popping here, going there, doing this, going there. I was tired. I
Mhm.
had a malaise, no energy. Even though I was sleeping, I just couldn't seem to get enough rest.
Mhm.
I chucked it off to, well, you know, new job, new stressors. Those are things that make you tired. You're using different parts of your brain that you know haven't used. But I was that was one thing.
Mhm.
But for me, that was the common thing. I just was always tired. I wouldn't have been able to feel my tumor because it was so small when they found it, but
Mhm.
um, my body was fighting because there was an invader in my body. My blood began to thicken. One
Mhm.
thing that happened prior to me having the episode with the pulmonary embolisms around April, I just suddenly got lightheaded, broke out into a cold sweat. I was at a public affair that I was hosting, and luckily for me, my nieces were there, and they were able to kind of attend to me. I thought maybe because I hadn't eaten, but that was
Mhm.
really odd that I broke out into that cold sweat. Where they were
Mhm.
like, "Oh, auntie," because I had a sleeveless dress on. This, "Oh, auntie, your arms! Look at all those cold bumps on your arm." I said, "I don't feel well."
Mhm.
And that could have been a sign, but I ignored it. I
Mhm.
was in event mode.
Mhm.
And I feel the pain that I experienced the morning of my pulmonary embolism incident is what stopped me kind of and caught my attention.
Okay.
The Lord knows his children,
Yeah.
and I have a high threshold for pain, but this was a pain that when I tried to take a full breath, it hurt.
Mhm.
So if you have any pains, don't ignore them. If
Mhm.
you have tiredness that you just can't seem to attribute, go to the doctor.
Mhm.
And this is another. And if that doctor says there's nothing wrong with you and you still feel, find you another doctor who
Mhm.
will listen and make sure that you get to the bottom of it. Um, One thing that I would share with Black women and all women, but especially women of color,
Mhm.
I learned through this experience that I had dense breast. So a regular mammogram is really not as effective
Hmm.
of detecting cancer for a woman who has dense breasts.
Hmm.
That means your breast tissue is very thick. And so my tumor probably was there in March of 23, but
Hmm.
they couldn't see it because of the
Can see
dense
it.
tissue.
Hmm.
But a 3D mammogram, which we hope, I'm working with a national organization called Touch, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. They're doing a lot of advocacy on many fronts regarding Black women and Black breast cancer experience, but one of them is making sure that there's that 3D mammograms are accessible to all women, and
Mhm.
also women finding out, that's part of you finding out your health history. Do you have dense breasts? And if you do, or there's a history of dense breasts or a history of breast cancer in your family, you should be getting a 3D mammogram or a mammogram with a MRI, or because you need that type of screening, because other tests may not pick it up right
Mhm.
away, and early detection is key. There are three grades of cancers. There's many stages, so there's stages and grades.
Okay.
My cancer, when they just did the biopsy, they thought it was a stage 2 because of how the cells were acting
Mhm.
under the microscope. But
Mhm.
once we had the surgery and they did the pathology report, they realized, no, she doesn't have stage 2 breast cancer. She has stage 1, but she has a grade 3 cancer. Grade
Mm.
1, grade 2, and grade 3. Grade
Mhm.
3, to use my doctor's, my oncologist, oncology surgeon's phrase, they're angry cancers. So they're
Mm.
aggressive and they're moving
Mhm.
and they're moving. So when he and I met, he said, we need to have your surgery. One of the things that I've learned through this experience also is to live your life.
Mm.
Live your life when you're not, because I had already planned a trip to Italy. So I asked the doctor, could I still go? And he says, well, how long are you going to be gone? I says, oh, about 2 weeks. He says, well, as soon as you get back, we got to get cracking. And I said, okay. So when I went with a couple of friends, where I love how you talk about love. There's nothing like sister love over in Italy, trouncing around, having a good time with your friends, and seeing parts of the world that you've never seen. But I
Mhm.
left cancer here. I
How
didn't.
did you do that? Because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask. How did you find the strength to go from maybe shock? I don't know if it was shock
Oh, it
or
was. It
whatever
was.
feelings you felt, to a determination that you're going to live, fight, and heal. How do you leave it in the Americas, as they would say, and then go to Italy, and how did you do that?
Well, I prayed. The Lord told me who to share this with initially. And I love my sister friends, but I didn't tell them that I was sick. And
Wow.
so we went to Italy. They didn't know I was sick. I knew I was sick, but I went anyway. But at that point, I just had this tiredness,
Mhm.
but no pain, the pee, all that was resolved. So we went and had a great time. But you know what? It's so funny. When we got back, I knew I was going to be having surgery. So I said,
Mhm.
well, I'm going to have to tell them, that
Mhm.
I, haven't had this situation.
Right.
And one day during the trip, I was sleeping so hard, but I'm so grateful I was a Girl Scout the night before, because we were on this bus that was going from Rome to Florence to Pisa to Venice to Tuscany. And if you missed the bus, you missed the bus.
Yeah.
And I was sleeping so hard because I was tired.
Mhm.
And sometimes they go out at night I choose not to. I'd stay back at the hotel and hang out, or just kind of lay low. And one of the sisters came and knocked at the door like she was the police. Everybody was on the bus but me. And we were about to leave Florence, Italy, on our way to the next stop. And she knew something was odd, but she didn't know what. So later, when I tell her, we get ready to have the surgery, she says, I knew something was up with you. I knew something was up with you. But I'm glad that I left cancer here and went to Italy and enjoyed myself. I tell everybody, if you can go to Italy, especially I love water, as you know, and Venice, I could have stayed there a whole week.
Wow.
I had a lot of time for prayer. I was in a solo room. So at night I would pray, meditate. And part of I think the cancer journey that was helpful for me was my faith, was my ability to remain positive, because my dad, the strength of his mind, he was a quadriplegic, but this guy was still engaged in life. He was still watching TV, still doing trigonometry. He was his mind. And when I think about my dad and even my mother lived her life all the way up till it was time to go. And she died a young woman. She was 64 years old when she died. And my father also died from cancer. So knowing your health history is so important. But no one in my family, either on my maternal or paternal side, has ever had breast cancer. So I'm the first. So if you can have genetic testing, some insurances will pay for it if there's a family history. But one of my hopes in some of the activist work that I hope to continue to do with the Whitmore Project is to get it where more people have access to genetic testing, because you may not be able to talk to your parents. You might be adopted. You might have a different family tree structure that you don't have the details as to what is going on with the health of the folks in the branches of your family tree. So I just think that's one of the things that we hope people learn from watching the film, about the importance of knowing your family history, listening to your body, leaning on the Lord, leaning on your circle, but also speaking up, using your voice to speak up and advocate for yourself, because health disparities can kill you.
Yeah. I do want to pivot right there. We're talking to Lisa Whitmore Davis, a survivor of breast cancer, and has an awesome project that we want you to be engaged in and we want you to support. You talk about these disparities, and you've mentioned it throughout tonight. And I want to talk about you being an advocate for healthcare, especially for Black women, because I think somewhere, don't send me home because I'm in pain, right? How would you help women to advocate for themselves? You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but tell us a little bit more, delve more, because this advocacy aspect, I think, is so important, especially for those that are underprivileged. I think healthcare should be a human right, but I'm going to get off my soapbox at some
Stay
point.
on
But
it.
you and I both know that it isn't, right? And so that there are so many that are treated as underprivileged, and the medical treatment they receive is treating them as if they're underprivileged. So talk to me a little bit about advocacy in healthcare. How do women advocate for themselves and communities advocate for the women that need that support where we know these disparities exist?
Well, I think it's a two-sided conversation. We need to educate our healthcare professionals early in their careers to build more cultural competency, to build more empathy, to build better listening skills. You referenced "Don't Send Me Home." When I first got to the hospital with the pulmonary embolisms, the ER doc, they had run a couple tests. They did a chest x-ray. Everything was clear. She says, well, we're going to send you home. I said, no, don't send me home. And don't just give me some pain medicines. I said, ma'am, I'm not somebody who's just coming here to get pain medicines. Something is wrong. I can't breathe fully, and it hurts to lay down flat. Whenever I said, something is really wrong with me. And I think how I implored with her, she paused, because I said, don't say, I'm not trying to get pain meds, because I know some people do that. I'm not, but I'm not that person. But don't think that either. And something is really wrong. And so she ran a CAT scan, and there they sat. Those three PEs, they sat there together. Marcus, my sense of humor. I'm an AKA. The radiology report said it was a triangular spear-like shape of the three PEs. So to all my Delta sisters, I was like, whoa, when you read that. But just think, if I didn't have the voice that I have, if I didn't have the background that the Lord has allowed me to have as being a caregiver for my dad, working in the healthy aging and caregiving space, for my former employer, AARP, understanding how health disparities work, I could have went home, took those pain meds, and I could have died. Or those PEs continue to float around. They could have went to my brain, anything. I could have had a stroke, but I said, don't send me home. Something's wrong with me. Life has taught me how to build that muscle. And I hope that one of the things that we learn, and we will kind of practice at the various events that we have scheduled in October, to help people learn how to use that voice, and that you can push back respectfully to the medical professionals that you are engaging with. I love medical professionals. I believe, like my mother taught us, God created modern medicine. He did. But it's a practice. It's a practice.
It's a practice. Yeah. It's almost like saying, I know you know medicine, but I know my body. And so I've got to advocate for my body to match what you know with what I know.
Right. And how I'm feeling.
Yeah. And how you're feeling. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted to also talk to you a little bit about the journey. So once you got the diagnosis, talk to us a little bit about how the treatment that you went through, and what would you consider to have been the lowest point and the highest point on that treatment journey?
Wow. It ties into how my film came about. I love to take pictures. I take pictures of my food. I take pictures of anything. If I need to remember something, I'll take a picture of it. I just take a lot of pictures. I take a lot of video. So because I was believing that God was going to heal me, but I also had a certain level of fear. And how I navigated my fear is that when things were happening, I would take pictures or video, because there's no HIPAA violation, because it's me, I would, especially if it made me uncomfortable or it frightened me, because there were some times in this process that are frightening. And I really used my camera and my video for myself. Like some nights when I would wake up at 3 a.m. and I wasn't well, or I was in pain, or I would talk into my phone about what was going on. And also too, because I live, I live in partnership with God. Uh,
Mhm.
if something happened, my daughter, when she lives out of state, she would be able to see what happened leading up to if something happened to me. So it
Mhm.
was also
Mhm.
kind of a security element as well. But my process was I had surgery. I opted to start with a partial mastectomy and giving them permission that while they were in the surgery, if they needed to do a full mastectomy, they had my permission to do so. But my doctors felt because no lymph nodes were involved, and they felt strongly that this I could go without having a full mastectomy. So I was grateful for that, but still a lot of major surgery. And then after that, what happens is your pathology of your tumor that is now out of your body. So they cut the cancer that they can see out of your body.
Mhm.
Then they
Okay.
run the pathology report, and then they do a study called a mammoprint. And what it is, they take, it's like an actuarial study of, based on the behavior of your cells, if you take one type of treatment, will the cancer come back in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10
Mhm.
years? So it's a mathematical actuarial study that gives probabilities. But we know the ultimate
Mhm.
doctor and who knows all the probabilities is our Father.
Yes.
But again,
Yes.
here's this modern medicine that he's given this technology to be developed. So when I got
Mhm.
my mamma print back, it wasn't what I thought I was going to have. They told me I just have surgery and radiation and be done. Well, that's when they realized from the mamma print that I had an angry cancer, and the doctor,
Mhm.
I love Dr. Brown. He has he's such a great guy. He was like, I could tell you're not happy about this. I says, no, I'm not, because this wasn't what we planned. Because that's one thing I love about Carmanos. When you find out that you have cancer, they have a meeting with you, with all of the various folks that you will encounter on your journey. You'll have a nurse, navigator. Just, it's a team approach to your health, and I like
Mhm.
that. I like groupthink. I like groupthink. So but the
Mhm.
plan, the initial plan, this is different than what the initial plan is. And so in your head, when you got to wrap around your head that I have cancer and this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. And this is how God's going to heal me through this. But when they say, no, this is not what we're going to do, that's kind of like saying we're going to have steak and eggs. And then you turn around and say, no, we're not going to have steak. We just,
Mhm.
you're like, wait, that's not what we planned. So
Right.
because of the cancer being angry, I had to take chemo. And
Mhm.
I'll say the lowest point and the most difficult was the chemo journey for me. Radiation, I comparing the two, radiation is like eating
Mhm.
candy. But
Okay.
everybody's radiation experience is different also, because I had what they call hypofractionated radiation. So that's meaning you're taking large doses of radiation at one time versus little tiny ones over 6 weeks. Because little tiny ones
Right.
over 6 weeks is like some women, their skin can crack, it can get extremely
Mm.
burned. I got a bad sunburn, but because I took 5 big doses versus 6 weeks of going 5 times a week for 6 weeks, I was able to take the large doses. So that's why my radiation experience was easy in
Okay.
comparison to my chemo. My chemo, it was very trying. My body
Mhm.
was fighting. I had a allergic reaction to the bone marrow stimulant, and they give you that because they're wiping out everything with the chemo, and then they give you the bone marrow stimulant so that your white cells won't be so low. Well, my body, I jokingly say this because humor is kind of sometimes the way I use a way to deal with difficult things. But my body was like,
Mhm.
I don't know what's going on up there, but she sent anything else up in here, we gonna clown. And so you take your round, and then this little thing that they put on your arm, it doesn't release the medicine until 30 hours later. And you all of a
Mm.
sudden you hear this little beeping. And then that's the bone marrow stimulant. And
Mm.
I was hospitalized for 4 days because of the allergic reaction to the bone marrow stimulant. So they
Oh,
had to
wow.
change my chemo regimen mid early stream from what because I couldn't
Mhm.
tolerate the other. And so the remaining rounds, I worked through it. It's a compounding experience. And so in my
Mhm.
film, you will see me from when I'm getting hooked up to the infusion experience to afterwards, because we had to create a special regimen for me because it would wipe me out so bad. A day after I took a round, I'd have to go in for fluids because I'd be so dehydrated. Then we wait another day, and then I go in again for fluids just to help get me through those first days after taking the round. Went through that for 5 months. And then I got to have a 30-day rest. And during that 30-day rest, my cousin invited me to visit her at Martha's Vineyard.
Mm.
And at that time, I just was so weak, I couldn't even walk around. And Martha's Vineyard isn't that big. And I know her housemates were like, "Why is this lady taking a Uber down the hill?" you know, because I and then to allow myself to still not have to have cancer with me everywhere. At that point I was totally bald, so I had my wigs and my hats. I even had a wig, Marcus, that there was no hair right here, but it was just hair around here because it would be so hot. I'm a woman of a certain age. So when I wear my baseball caps, I put my little half wig on that had curly hair around here and in this part so my head could breathe.
Got it. That was smart.
Wait. I was at a church service down south during this time period, and this Anita Wilson was singing. So Brother Mark, I was just in it. And I was
Right.
just worshiping, and I had all this energy. All of a sudden, I started feeling more air, and my wig was sliding off the back of my head. You talking about something funny? That was funny to me. So
Now, did you just keep on worshiping, or did you kind of fix it and slow down?
I pulled her down, and kept on going. Okay.
There you go.
So then we
There
go
you go.
to my radiation treatment. And like I said, I took 5 big doses in a row. And so on the last day, I got to ring the bell. And
I was going to ask you about that. What was that like?
Oh my God. It was like graduation, Christmas, and getting a big hug from your parents.
Mm.
It was such a moment for me. Just thinking about it, it's emotional because
Sure.
that on that day they tell you that you are cancer free.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter, in her, I tell you, I say this a lot. Get you some millennials in your life, okay? You got a great millennial in your life. Those millennials, I love them. And they navigate their friendships. I think Gen Xers, and we can learn from them about how they really navigate their friendships and leverage them. So one of her friends, Christian, he was in film school. and he was finishing
Mm-hmm.
up a class, and he asked her, "How's Miss Lisa coming along?" And she says, "Oh, her last treatment is on Monday." And he was like, "Really?" And he says, "Could I follow her? Could I shadow her?" And she was like, "Yeah," I'm paraphrasing because Lante might be watching, but she was like, "Yeah, she's a ham. She'll love it, you know." So he came to my house at like 7:30 in the morning, and he captured me from when I got out the bed until I rang the bell.
Wow.
And afterward, my daughter kind of surprised me. We sat on my couch in my living room, and she had all these great questions. You'd have thought she talked to you. She had so many great questions. And remember, she's been with me through all of this. She's taken me to the doctor. She's been with me. If she wasn't physically with me, she was over the phone. She has been right there. So these questions,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like kind of Oprah and Gail. And
Mm-hmm.
Christian says, in the outtakes, I'm learning all that lingo. He says, this might be on Martha's Vineyard one day. And I give you that look because on August 22nd, exactly almost 1 year from my visit to my cousin's home out there in Martha's Vineyard, my documentary is
Mm-hmm.
going to be shown
And
in
Martha's
Martha's
Vineyard.
Vineyard. That's not coincidence.
Mm-mm.
That's not coincidence. That's
No.
not. That's nothing but the Lord. And to be connected to touch, I want to speak about touch.
Mm-hmm.
Touch was founded by an amazing woman named Ricky Farley. I met her when I was working for AARP back in like 2016. So I met her a long time ago. And she went through her breast cancer journey. She had triple negative, which is a very, very aggressive cancer, and there aren't a lot of treatment even now for triple negative. They're making advances, and I believe some of the work that she's doing is helping to drive those advances in the triple negative space. But they told her to kind of like go home, get your affairs in order, love on your, and she had little kids at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Her daughters were young, and she fought. She's been cancer free for 15 years. And in the middle of all of that, she built the infrastructure of touch
Mm-hmm.
to help women. I would go to some Saturdays if I felt up to it. She has an online support Zoom room where you could go and talk with other women, resources. Even I wish I could have went this year, but I'm going next year. They have even a celebration, once a year for the touch organization. But she has this 2-week period where she's out at Martha's Vineyard. It's called the Black Health Hub, in partnership
Mm-hmm.
with I forget the name of the company, but they will do on-site mammograms and breast exams. And last year, 60 women got screened and they found 3 cancers. Those women were on their vacation, chilling on Martha's Vineyard, happened to go by this booth, take the time to set the appointment. She found 3 cancers.
Mm-hmm.
So the work that she's doing is amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
when I say I'm honored to be a part in just my little piece on August 22nd at 1 p.m. in her health hub tent, that my little film will be shown. I hope that someone is encouraged by it. I hope that someone learns about it. I hope someone begins to listen more to their body. I hope that even someone who may not have to walk the journey themselves of cancer, but can see the caregiving journey that Alante, as a millennial, she approached it as a millennial, but the caregiving journey that is just so deep with someone who has cancer. Yeah. So we're just honored that we're in the space. I can't.
And I'm honored to have you. Actually, honored to have you. I want to just slightly pivot, and as I'm sharing this across platform, TikTok, though their comments aren't here, I want you to tell us a little bit about, because you mentioned Dr. Alante Whitmore Studmeyer. Am I saying the last name correctly?
That's correct.
Who I'm very proud of. I think she also saw you being a caregiver too, and I think that might have informed her caregiving journey. But I'm just so proud of the job that she did and has done and continues to do, and walking with you through the journey. So it's really a family affair. Tell me about the family affair aspect of this project, because she walked the whole journey with you. And how does that go, having that support system, that millennial, as you say, walking the journey with you, make a difference?
It makes a difference because not only does she have good friends, she married well. My son-in-law cared for his mother all the way to her death, and she had breast cancer. We didn't know him then, but his mother died on the same day I rang the bell. She died in 2018 on September 9th, and I rang the bell September 9th in 2024.
Wow.
And so he knew how to support her. And you're right. She observed my caregiving, but Alante did it her way. And she, the excellence that she displayed in it, I am forever grateful. So her being an engineer, she told Chris when they were talking, after we looked at the footage of the conversation, she said, Chris said, this is kind of good. And she says flippantly, she says she probably got about 1,000 videos in her phone. She got 1,000 photos too. He was like, she does? So the film is only 25% shot professionally. The rest of it is from this phone.
Wow.
And Christian, I call him Chris, he knitted it together. But Alante, she built out, in consultation with me, of course, the storyboard. So each set of the movie, if we wanted to, we could go deep and make it into an episode. I mean, that's why I said, get you some millennials, because I couldn't even think like that. But we worked through each chapter. There are like 9 segments to make the whole movie. But if we wanted to go deep, we touch lightly, but with depth. But if we really wanted to flesh that thing out, they're already built. The movie is built in ways that could be expanded out into episodes. So part of the movie also, where I got a chance to really learn more about my mom and dad, and it was Christian's idea. He says, I want to know more about Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore. How are you who you are? Why are you the way you are? And I did it with help from one of my friends who's a genealogy researcher, Dr. Mary Clark. She found so many newspaper articles about my mom, about my dad, that some I remember and others I don't. And even she found newspaper articles and articles about me as a kid that my mother wrote, and I really got a chance, because when you're going through something like this, where your mortality is in front of you, you really think about who, you want your mama and you want your daddy. Okay. And my parents are gone and have been gone. My mother's been gone since 97, and my dad left before the pandemic. So I don't know if you can see this. I had this made, and that is a picture that I have kept on my phone so that they were always looking at me when I was going through all of this.
Yeah. What can
So,
you imagine them saying to you going through it? Can you hear their voices? What would you imagine them saying to you?
you're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. Um, I can hear my dad saying, "The fight is in your mind. If you in your mind you think you're not gonna make it, you're not gonna make it." And where my mom would it be, you're gonna be all right. You need to be a compliant patient, but you need to be a proactive patient. So speak up. And we unpack it in the movie. One of the hospital rooms that I went into, um, there was a little piece of card that said, "This room was cleaned for you by Vera." My mother's name was Vera. For me to walk into a hospital room sick, scared to death, for me to see that, I don't feel that was just random. So I feel, because my mom's been gone so long, it was almost like she was like, "Okay, God, I don't like to go down there because it dirty." Okay, I love it here in heaven, but I know my child is really frightened. She's been through some difficult times, but she can handle. But can I just get close enough for her to see I'm here? And that card, that little piece of paper that you see when you go into your hospital room, that your room was clean, I keep it on my piano here in my living room. I still have it. And we really, Christian did some really beautiful cinematography around it, how the story of that is in the film as well. People laugh, people cry, people sing along with me, because I'm gonna bust out. I'm singing along in the movie, and the first audience was a focus group audience. And after that feedback that they gave us, we went back and we did some tweaking. We really did. We listened to what they said. It was something how we were hoping to change the name, but people really liked the Whitmore Project, so it stuck. But we did get a suggestion for the podcast that we use, Courageous Conversations. So, but in October, I'm really excited that we will have 3 showings, 2 in Michigan, a third in Ohio. The first one will be at October the 4th at Wayne Community College District at the Northwest Campus on Saturday morning at 10 a.m. We're going to have not only a screening of the film, a free screening of the film, but we're also going to have a resource fair where a lot of the organizations that I used and leveraged during my journey. There's an organization called Shades of Pink Foundation. They paid all my bills 1 month because, again, I was underinsured. And I thank the Lord for Barack Hussein Obama, because the Affordable Care Act is how I was able to be insured during that time in my life. And without that, I don't know how I could have made it. I mean, I had pharmacology bills that were $60,000 for one day. And that's not even the other part of the bill. That's just for the medicine. And I hear from my survivor sisters, that's cheap. Because I have what they call, I have a cancer that's an older cancer. It's called ER positive, HER2 negative. It's about 50 years old. And so that means it's been around, they've researched it. There's a lot of different methodologies around how to address it when it's not in its metastatic form, where other cancers are newer and they don't have as much research, or they don't have as much methodologies.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we do talk about in the film that I just remember not to jump around. I participated in a clinical study while I was going through my chemo journey because I feel that in order for the cures to understand how we as people of color react to things or how things affect us, we have to participate in studies. But I also unpack in the film, I understand why people don't want to do it. Can you say Henrietta Lacks? They used her cells without her permission.
Right.
Can you say the Tuskegee experiment?
Yeah.
They experimented on us.
Yeah.
So the hesitancy is understandable. But in the same breath, we have to have courage as we can to participate as we can. And I'm happy that I was able to have that opportunity and going to a cancer center like Carmano's that is in partnership with different medical centers around the country. There's a lot of different studies that you could be a part of. So you got to do for you. One thing about this journey, it truly is, Marcus, there's been numerous times in my life you've gotten a chance to get to know me more than some. And this was the one time in my life where I truly focused all of my attention, all of my energy about myself. It felt selfish at first, but because I was fighting such a battle that I didn't have the bandwidth. And so I really had to focus on myself. And I say that from a perspective that your cancer journey, it's you, but also those that love you and those who are in relationship with you, they experience it also, but from a different perspective, maybe not physically as the patient. And I learned a lot about myself. I thought I knew that girl, that Lisa girl. But
what would you say is the biggest lesson or the one that you didn't, think you knew?
That it was okay to just solely focus on myself. I'm a giver. That's what I do for a living. I serve. I love working in community. I love helping, of course, older adults. That's my passion space, but I love helping people. So to turn inward for that protracted amount of time, that 6-7 month, especially during that chemo journey, that was kind of uncomfortable. I'm like, trying to reach out to my friends and see how they're doing. And some of them like, why are you checking on me? You beat me to calling you, or concern, you and I served together in ministry at church. I tried my best until I physically could not get up in that choir loft. I just didn't have the energy. And I'd have to, when I get ready to drive, I should have had somebody drive me to and from church, but I wanted to do that. And I would sit and wait till I got my bearings. I'd walk out, get to my car, and I'd sit there for about 15, 20 minutes to get my bearings. And then I'd drive home. You never imagine that something could affect your body to make you feel that weak or feel that bad. I jokingly say Zofran and Compazine, that's my now laters and my Jolly Ranchers. Those are medicines that help you with your nausea and with your stomach issues. My cancer was a fast-growing cancer, so it affected all of the cells that are fast-growing cells. So that's your hair, your skin, the flora in your stomach, in your mouth. I had thrush mouth like the little babies get. I mean, it was I mean, so I had to learn, and that was a journey. And I'm grateful. Like I said, we backed into a documentary, but I'm grateful that I took pictures and I took video, and some of the video, it will never make it'll never make a film, but the ones that did, I'm hoping that it gives people insight, and also to dispel some of the fear. Um, Cancer is frightening, but I hope that people see the hope that I held on to, the faith that I held on to, the faith in my God, faith in my medical team, faith in my family and my friends who um, that rallied around me. And also, I guess the negative side about cancer, you not only do you learn about yourself, you learn about people, and you learn about your circle.
Yeah.
You learn about them.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit of, you've been telling us about this awesome project.
Thank you.
And there will be a screening, you said, in October the 4th.
October the 4th in Detroit. On October 18th, we'll be in Grand Rapids. We're working with the Life Quest Urban Center. It's a mega church there in the Grand Rapids area. A friend of mine I went to high school with, he has seeded a great ministry, he and his wife there, and they're doing great work in community there in Grand Rapids. And then we'll be in Cleveland the last weekend in October. So these free screenings, and we're open to bringing the film to other communities. I got some feelers. Folks are saying, "Oh, you'll travel." I said, "Hey, my film is on my laptop, and I don't send it to anyone because it's my asset." But I also we're willing to come to the audience and bring the film so that people can learn. And I'm grateful that we're able to have these free screenings where people can see it, because how can you learn or hear about or pique your interest around, maybe when was the last time I had my mammogram? Are my breast dense? What's my family history? Or I'm in it and I didn't know that there were these different organizations that are national or that are Michigan or Midwest based that I can engage with and connect with to help me through this financial burden that cancer has. I see how people can lose their home, how they can totally lose their financial security through going through a catastrophic illness like cancer. But again, I'm so blessed that God has kept me. He's protected me physically and financially. And I only person I could thank is I thank my God. He's kept me.
Yes. And you have a fundraiser that's going on now. And I just dropped the link to the popcorn store in the comments, and we'll be circulating that throughout. Tell us a little bit about that and how that helps to support this great work that you're doing.
Yes. What's popping with the Whitmore Project? Well, I love popcorn. My crowns won't let me be great, but I still love popcorn. And if you're going to go to a movie, what do you usually eat? You eat popcorn, you know. So we're doing a double good popcorn sale this week. It started yesterday on the 21st. It ends at 9 a.m. on the 25th. And I chose this week because it's my mother's birthday week. And my family, as you know, Marcus, we celebrate. So I said, we're going to have a celebration popcorn sale during Miss Vera's week because her birthday is today. So it helps us defray cost because we have these free events and we have to travel. We have to pay for sound. We have to projection. That stuff is expensive, as you know. So we are a donation-funded organization. We have a fiscal partnership with an organization called 1124. Again, a great millennial, Miss Tanji Reese, a friend of my daughter's. She started a nonprofit about 7 years ago that helps young women and men from ages 18 to 35 deal with domestic violence, financial abuse, emotional abuse, and how to navigate and eliminate those things. And one of the reasons I love that we have this fiscal partnership with them, that when you give a donation to the Whitmore Project, you also give a gift to them as well. So when we had our event in March, we were able to present her with a check for $2,700 and eventually about $3,100 in total during our fundraising that we've been engaged in to help defray our costs. So because we are a donation-based organization, we are doing the double good popcorn sale, and we also have a unpopped version where you can give a donation to 1124 the Whitmore Project, and that way you can donate, and no donation is too small and no donation is too big. But we are really fortunate that we have friends, family, and their friends, and folks who we got gifts from people even across the pond that saw our, we're trying to get the word out about the work that we're doing, and people want to get engaged and support it. And so we just are so grateful that you afforded us this platform to talk about our popcorn sale, but also a little bit more about the Whitmore Project and my journey. And I saved to this audience, if you ever need a great prayer, Marcus Holmes has a great prayer. He can give you a great prayer. I have one that I have starred in my text messages that he sent me, and I've never deleted, and I listen to it. So I hope people learn that even the smallest things that people can do, even with a text, a voice note, how it can support someone when they're on a cancer journey. Yeah.
Wonderful. And I have the QR code that's up there. If you want to scan the QR code, anybody that's here, of course, it's going to circulate throughout Facebook because we want to do all that we can to support the Whitmore Project, which is a phenomenal representation of God's ability to take pain and turn it into purpose and give you dividends of resilience. And I think that's a big message that I want people to hear about you, Lisa, and the Whitmore Project, that God has used something that would be horrendous to most, and maybe it was horrendous to you, but he used that and used you in it to show that he can bring you back. He can bounce you back. He can bounce you forward. And so I know there are tons of women in and around the Love and Stuff community and throughout the various platforms who are contending with health challenges or who don't know how to speak up, right? Who haven't found their voice around their health, mental wellness, health, physical wellness, health, spiritual wellness, and haven't found their voice to speak up. And they're going to hear you and hopefully come to the screening and find their voice to be able to be as well as God has made you. When you think about this Whitmore Project, when people go to the screening, what do you want them to walk out of the screening? There's some art to this documentary. If I know you, there's art to everything that you do, but you want them to walk out saying, feeling, believing, doing what, Lisa?
If you haven't had your screenings, go. And breast cancer, for example, doesn't just affect women. It affects men as well. Beyonce's dad, he had breast cancer. Several men, high-profile men, have had breast cancer. So they can have it as well. But for women especially, find out if you have dense breasts. That's just a baseline question that I think all women should learn. I learned it once I was in breast cancer. I wish I had maybe known it prior. Know your health history. If you can't talk to your family members about your health history, try to get genetic testing. That will tell you if you have the various markers for different cancers in your health DNA. And also listen to your body. Listen to your body. Listen to your body. and lean into your faith, lean into being optimistic. Even though you could look at this as the glass half empty, the glass was half full because they found it early. That in spite of it being ugly, they found it early. Early detection, really, we can't say that enough. Early detection makes a difference. But if you don't get it early, find doctors that will work with you. Make sure you're going to, a cancer center like we have here in Detroit. We're so lucky. We're so blessed that we got Carmanos. I'm a Carmanos girl. You got Henry Ford. You have, we have University of Michigan. You can even go to Cleveland Clinic. University of Chicago is where my mom got her cancer treatment because I'm from the west side of the state. There's so many great spaces where you can get good health care for this journey. But the first key thing is with you. Listen to your body and don't be a Dr. Dodger.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the showing in August in the Hamptons. That is what a high honor that is.
Oh my
How
God.
can people follow you and the Whitmore Project? Where should they get connected with you?
Yes, we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're on YouTube. I think I need to get on Stitch from what I'm hearing here today. But the Whitmore Project, just like my last name, Whitmore, Whitmore, the Whitmore Project. And there I'm always putting new information, resources, but also what we're up to as well. And I'm just really excited about, of course, Martha's Vineyard. That's just a kiss on the cheek from the Lord for the film. We still have our fingers crossed that we'll get selected for the Detroit Free Press Film Festival. We've submitted to numerous film festivals around the country, but from what I'm talking with other filmmakers, it takes time for people to know and for you to get picked for a film festival, especially when you're a small indie project like mine. But nevertheless, if there's a screen and somebody will let me show it, I'm gonna show it.
Wonderful. Lisa, thank you so much for coming on. I wish you much more success with the Whitmore Project. I know that it birthed out of something that was tough for you to go through, and it was tough to watch you go through it. But I'm so grateful that you are on the other side of it and able to stand so that everyone can hear what God has done and is doing through you. So congratulations on this project. You can connect with her on all platforms. Please support the Double Good Popcorn. Get you some popcorn. And if you can't, go to the other link that we have posted to donate so that we can make sure that everybody knows to think about yourself. I love that you were able to. And I think that's something about the self-love that we get. I think
yes,
the quintessential love, who is God, is one that many people seek to love. And then everybody seeks to love somebody else. That's what everybody's looking for. But very few people focus on what God said hangs on these two commandments, hang all the law and the prophet, to love me with everything you got and your neighbor as yourself. So if you don't have the self-love part in there, that's the neglected love. And we often neglect our health and the signs that our life is telling us about our health, and neglecting to spend time where we think it's selfish when it's really self-love. It's really your gratefulness and your love speaking to your worthiness. That's what that self-love and self-care really is. But so often we neglect it because we are trying to care for everybody else. So I hope that people will glean that part from your journey, this powerful journey, that at some point you do have to turn inward and say, well, if not me, then who? And who will say me if I don't first say me? So I love that for you. And I love that for everybody that I hope will be connected to this project. So thank you so much for joining us here tonight. This has been an amazing show. And I hope that many people will join in supporting. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Born and dead, saved by love, count my blessing from above. Though in darkness, have no fear. Light will shine on those holding near. They know that sorrow they will pass. For I know in this life there will be something. But remember that love, yes it will. Love will reign. Yeah. Love will reign. Yeah. In my heart, I believe it. Love will reign. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Have a vision. It's clear and plain. People living life, smiling again. Oh, see the children, they know no pain. Far from pressure, stress and strain. Oh, sorrow, they will pass. For I know in this life there's gonna be some pain. But remember that love, yes it will. I know. Yeah. Love will reign. Gotta believe it.